Hi and welcome to part 2 of the Xdreme HD 1080p action camera review. If you've seen part 1 you'll have seen the unboxing and general operation of this camera. If you haven't, have a look at the description below and click the link and see part 1 as well. In this video I'll be going through the menu system, showing you all the features that this camera has. We'll be looking at mounting to a motorcycle helmet, and I'll be showing you some onboard footage with and without the wired microphone, and with and without the date and timestamp. So we'll just jump straight into it. I'm going to run through the menu options of the camera now, and so you can see what's available, and it's going to be quite a comprehensive walkthrough, so although I'll do this as quickly as possible, it is going to take a few minutes just to go through every option because there are quite a few on there. So on the top of the camera you have the three buttons: record, the on-off button and the mode button. On the back of the camera you have four buttons: the menu, back, forward, and then the play and pause button. The play pause button is multifunctional while you're in the menu for selecting options, as you'll see in just a moment. To switch the camera on, if you just do a quick press and hold, you'll see that what you get is the three LEDs will light and flash, but nothing else will happen. Now obviously this is designed so that you don't accidentally switch it on in your pocket and waste battery power. So what you have to do is press and hold the power button, and you get a nice little bingly bong to tell you that the camera's up and running and working, and this goes immediately into video mode. On the top right of the screen you have the battery power, and you have the remaining video time showing in the middle, and then the mode that you're currently in, 720p 60 frames per second. So press the menu button once. This takes you into your list of recorded movies, and you can scroll back and forth. Pressed again, it takes you into your photos. As you can see, there are no photos in there presently. Pressed again, it takes you into the menu. So we're just going to run through the menu options. First on the list is resolution. You're going to hear this switches between your 1080, 720, 640 by 480, varying between 60-50, 30 and 25 frames per second according to your chosen television type. Next down on the list is photo size. It has a native resolution of 5 megapixel. This will actually increase up to 16, but the native resolution is 5 megapixels, so there's not really any point in going any greater than that. Record overwrite. This is a feature that people who use car cameras use a lot, and this gives you an option of 2, 5, 15 minute intervals and then off. Now what this does, this will record in blocks of your chosen amount until the card is full. Once full, it will delete the oldest and start recording a new block, and so on and so forth. This is so that you don't have to wipe a card every time it fills up when you're using this as a car cam, and you can just keep it permanently wired in, recording every journey that you make. Motion detection, we're going to there. You have an option of 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and what this does is determines the length of time that the video runs after motion detection has been activated. So if you put this in an empty room, somebody walks by the sensor. It is very sensitive, incidentally. I've actually tested this out in a room and walked past the open door, which is a good sort of 6 or 7 foot away, and it's triggered the camera. And then what this will do is continue recording for a full 30 seconds or however long you've chosen after the last motion has been detected. So moving on, we've got language. You've got quite a variety of languages there, English and various Chinese, Japanese, French, German, Italian, etc. Russian I think that was. And quality, low, medium and high. Obviously select high. It'd be daft to do otherwise. Time and date, this is where you can set the time and date, and if you go into there it will scroll through the year, the month and so on, and then the time, and you can set that to the correct time. Your timestamp is where you select whether you want your timestamp to show on your finished video or not. So you have an option of having no timestamp at all, just the date, just the time, or the date and the time, which show in separate sections. You'll be able to see in the onboard footage later what that looks like with the timestamp on and with the timestamp off. Next is flicker. I've just left that to auto, but you can choose between 50 and 60 Hz. Again, this is relevant to your television type, I believe NTSC or PAL. Television type, NTSC or PAL. If you're in the UK it's PAL, if you're in the US it's NTSC. White balance I've left to auto, but this is very much like a camera, any digital camera. You can set it sunny, cloudy, fluorescent, and so on and so forth. Auto exposure bias I've currently got set to +03 because in the test that I've done in car at the moment, the bias seems to be exposing more for the sky than the foreground, so it seems just a little bit too dark, and +0.3 seems to be a good sort of compromise setting. Other people's results may vary. Some may be fine just out of the box, and it's because I guess it's evaluative metering. So if you've got a lot of sky on there, then it's going to be metering primarily for the sky. You'll notice there, I'll just mention this while this has done this, but the screen has just gone off and you've got the little LED lights. Now this shows that it's still active, but this is because I've got the screen to turn off, set to turn off after 30 seconds, which is something else I'll show you when I get to. So moving on, we've got contrast low, medium and high, sharpness low, medium and high, and they're both set to mid sort of auto points. Auto exposure ISO mimics the ISO rating that you used to get in film cameras. The lower the number, the finer the grain, the sharper the image. So it's set to auto because for my purposes that's all I need, but if you absolutely had to have the best image and you were in good light, you would select ISO 100 equivalent, for example. Volume is 1 to 15. I'm not sure if this refers to the volume of the actual built-in speaker or if this refers to the input volume of the microphone, so I'm currently playing around with that. I had that set to its default of 15, but I've now turned that to 5, so the next time I take this out and I have the internal microphone plugged in, I'll be able to let you know if that has any effect. The beep sound. Now this is an important one because this is something that I normally turn off on any electronic device I buy. It's the very first thing to go because it annoys the pants off me. Especially on a cell phone, you're pressing the buttons to send a text or something, it's beep 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 beep, you know, it drives me crazy. So it's the first thing that will normally go when I buy a new electronic device. However, in this case, because I bought this to be a helmet mounted camera for my motorbike, when it's on your helmet you can't actually see the screen, you can't see what's going on, so the only thing you've got to rely on is either somebody to look at it and say yes, that's recording, or the beep. And because you have a very distinctive beep for recording and a completely different beep for stopping recording, it's incredibly useful and you can hear it quite clearly in your helmet. So that's been left on and I quite like that. Default setting, if you choose that, this just resets everything in the menu back to factory as it left the box. Format is to format your card. Auto power off, if you select this one, you've got off, which I've currently got selected, which means that the power will remain on until I switch the camera off. But if you're in the habit of leaving devices not recording and forgetting to switch them off and wasting battery power, then this might be a good one for you. You've got a choice of 1, 2, 3 or 5 minutes, and this will turn the device off after a period of inactivity as chosen by yourself, so it won't turn it off if you're recording, for example. LCD auto turn off. Now I mentioned this one earlier. I've currently got this set to 30 seconds and again, because I'm not actively needing to look at the screen when it's helmet mounted, I'm quite happy with that LCD to turn off after 30 seconds of recording time and save me a little bit of battery. Again, you've got an option of 30 seconds, 60 seconds or not at all, and I've got that currently set to the lowest at 30 seconds. It switches itself off and saves battery time. Self-capture, now it's currently set to off. You set it to 3, 5, 10, 30 seconds, 60 seconds or off. And this is for if you want to do any stop motion stuff. So what this does is, if you say select 10 seconds, it will take a photograph every 10 seconds and and then you can piece this together in video editing software and make a bit of stop motion video. That's quite a nice little feature. And the firmware version just shows you the current firmware version, and that's dated 2012-03-20, so as you can tell that's 20th of March. That's fairly current. I dare say it's the most recent that's available. And that's essentially it for the menu. This then cycles back around to the start. One thing I'll mention while it's in my mind, having been reading a few reviews and comments on this particular camera, there's a comment that somebody had mentioned about deleting files, when rather than formatting the whole thing they just want to delete the odd file, and they didn't think that you could do this. Now it is possible on this camera, though it's not very intuitive, so I'm just going to show you how you would do that. So we'll go into the video menu, and you can see these are the pieces of video I've shot. There's one here, for example. Now what you would do to delete an individual file is, in the menu with your highlighted window on the video that you want to delete, press the record button once and this little window pops up, and then you use your left and right buttons and you can either choose to delete all of the files, yes to delete just the one file you've selected, or no accordingly. So we'll select yes and OK, and that file disappears. I'll just show you that again on this one. So press the record button once, select yes, OK, and that one disappears. And it's the same for the photograph. So while it's not very intuitive, it's not immediately obvious as you'd find in a menu setting, you can delete individual files if you're recording and you just want to free up a little bit of space getting rid of something that you've filmed and you don't want. So that's a useful feature. To switch the camera off, press and hold as you did to switch it on, and it gives you a completely different tone to the switch on tone. And I'll just show you the recording one just so you can hear the differences between the tones. So that's your switch on tone, and then you've got a single beep for recording and it starts to record. And then what sometimes happens, if you press the button and it doesn't beep at you, it'll be because of this, which I'll show you in a moment. So we'll just need to wait 30 seconds for that screen to switch itself off. Could do with a little bit of elevator music while we wait for this. There we go. So press the record button and immediately it pops the screen back to life, but doesn't stop the recording. But as I say, this is the beauty of the thing being audible. You can hear when it does stop. So when you press that again, and you can see it makes a double beep. So single beep to start recording, double beep to stop recording. And this is quite audible when it's sat on your helmet and you press it, so you know whether you're recording and you know whether you're not. So we'll switch that off, and I shall show you the mounting I've currently got on my helmet. Here we have my helmet, which is an Aero. It's an Italian manufacturer, not the chocolate kind. And on the top there are roof vents, which very handily enabled me to put this Cordura strap through and fasten this L-shaped bracket quite securely in place through the largest of the openings. And the lining is removable inside, which meant I could thread this through and secure it quite firmly underneath, and the strap is not at all affecting any of the inner portion, so it's still quite comfortable and the ventilation flows nicely. I'm looking at an alternative method to mount the L bracket through the tripod mounting hole to one of these side plates, which should give me a little bit more adjustment. And as it stands, you'll see the piece of Velcro there. I need to add another packing piece to raise that. For the sports bike, as I say, for the Enfield it should be fine. But this is how the L bracket's currently attached. You'll see on this side of it, if I can just rotate this round, that the onboard microphone is fed up through here, the excess wiring is tucked into a cheek pad, and then the camera itself slots on like so, pushes back until it clicks into place, and then this door opens and then the microphone plugs into the microphone in port on the back there, as you can see. I just took the wire around the bottom. It's quite tricky to see this because the wire's taut now, but what I do is I took the wire around the bottom of there, and then this fits quite nicely onto there so that that wire's not flapping around and it's fixed in place quite firmly. And it seems to work very, very well. What I currently do is wrap a rubber band around the clip at the top just to stop that flapping about and rattling and being a bit of a nuisance. So just literally a rubber band around there just to hold that down. And as I say, when you see the footage, you'll see that that works quite well indeed. I'm rather pleased with it. Well, I hope this sound's coming across okay. I've got them wired to the microphone inside the helmet, of course, and I hope the position of the camera is also okay for footage. So far I've managed to find and press the record button with my gloves on, which I'm quite impressed with, because the buttons don't stand really that proud. They're not quite so noticeable as some action camera buttons are. But so far I've got to say I'm quite impressed with how easy that was, and the beep to let you know it's recording is quite audible even when you're wearing your helmet. You might have a problem hearing it if you wore earplugs, for example, but it is quite audible, the start and stop recording beep. So I dare say there's a few spots of wet on the lens, as you're probably able to tell. We've got a bit of fine sort of drizzle in the air, which is a bit of a nuisance given how nice it looked this morning. And this first portion of the video is basically just to give you an initial impression as I head towards the filling station to get some petrol. And this portion I've left the date and time stamp on so that you can see what that looks like in the lower left and lower right hand corner of the video, if that's something that you need. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking for a bit now and we're just going to crack on. I'm going to leave this running while I walk into the filling station. Just curiosity really, I just want to see what it's going to look like on sort of indoor shots with the helmet mount. Right. We're pretty much at the end of the review now for the Xdreme 1080p HD camera, and there's just a few little bits to wrap up. Well done if you've made it this far. I know it's been a bit of a long review, and it's a good camera, definitely. It's not perfect, but then I don't think anything would be unless you purpose designed it for yourself. It's definitely up there as prime competition for the two mainstream action cameras that everybody knows, the GoPro Hero II and the Drift HD. And I did look at those two when I was deciding to buy a camera, and discounted them for various reasons. The GoPro Hero II, for example, the footage is superb, but I simply cannot get past the fact that it looks like a cheap toy camera. The other thing that put me off the GoPro Hero is everything comes as an accessory at extra cost. So an LCD screen, which is something that's very important to me to help preview the footage that I've taken while I'm out and about, costs extra. And then you can't use the ordinary case, you have to have a different back to go with it. If you want an extended battery, you have to buy that extra, and guess what, you need another back to go with it. If you want different mounts for different purposes, you have to buy those extra. You can't use the wired mic while it's actually inside the case, and so on. The sort of list goes on with the things that bug me about the GoPro. So while the footage might be good, I don't like the look of it, and it doesn't seem to matter how you mount it, it just seems to stick out like a sore thumb as well. Now the Drift HD was a much better option. It was the one that I was going to go with. I like the form factor of it, but ultimately this one won out because, quite simply, it was half the price. The only thing that this one doesn't do that the Drift does that I really liked was the adjustable lens, which meant that you could mount the Drift at any angle, it didn't really matter, and twist the lens to make sure that you got perfectly aligned video. And I may very well get a Drift at some point in the future because I do think they look quite good. But certainly for the time being, this is more than good enough for my needs. I made a little list of the pros and cons for my needs. Now bear in mind, this might be different for yourself, it depends on what you're buying the camera for. But the things that I like about the camera, the sturdy build quality, it's very, very well built. It's solid, it's well put together, and it feels worth the money that you spent on it. The bang for your buck factor, as I've explained with the GoPro, for example, you could buy 3 of these for the price of a GoPro rig in the UK. So, you know, you could have 1 on your helmet and 2 on your bike or your car. So, you know, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, that one. The packaging and instructions are very, very good, comprehensive and clear, and well written and laid out. The battery life, now this is something I was particularly impressed with. It takes somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours to fully charge the battery from expired, but for that time, while I actually mounted it on a tripod, left it recording, so with the LCD screen auto turn off, it managed a full 3 hours, and it records in 1 hour segments, so you get videos of 1 hour each, but it managed a full 3 hours of video recording before the battery died, and that was after I'd already taken a few sort of sample video clips as well, so that wasn't just after charging the battery, so I was very impressed with that. The LCD screen, it's an absolute must for me, which is why the GoPro was out of the picture to start with, because it would have meant I would have had to have bought that separately, which increases the bulk of the camera as well. The microphone in jack, which is another essential for me, the main reason being I want to use this camera when I do motorbike reviews again, so that I can talk as I'm actually riding the bike and describe features and such. The service from the retailer ChinaVasion.com. Now, it's common for people to be wary of ordering from overseas, but I've ordered a number of things from eBay, from China, never had a problem yet, and the service from ChinaVasion was absolutely excellent. Things I don't like: it doesn't have a lens cap, it doesn't come with a lens cap, and there's no easy way of fitting one. Now, this is very common on all kinds of cameras nowadays, and so it's not really a huge surprise, but it's just for when you pocket it in between use, it would be nice to have something to protect the lens cover. On that subject as well, one of the things I like about the Drift is it has a curved lens cover which is replaceable. This is something else this isn't. It would be nice if you could. And I suspect the curved one would be better for when you're riding in the rain, because the rain would flow off it more easily rather than sitting on the lens cover. The things I don't like is really quite a trivial list when you put things into perspective and say, is it worth an additional £85 to buy the drift? And the answer to that for me is certainly no. So overall, I'm very happy with this. I think it's an excellent camera. I highly recommend it, and if somebody's looking for a dual action camera that's weatherproof, waterproof, and by the look of it quite tough, I would say go right ahead, order yourself one of these and you will not be disappointed. I hope this review has been interesting and useful, and thank you for your time, thank you for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe and share. Thank you very much.